Okay, so we are with Melody. She is out in you're out in Oklahoma by Tulsa.
Mhm.
You had just gotten a 7.0 terahertz wand. We were doing a video yesterday on your sort of your review or a testimonial on the terahertz wand model 7.0, some really great things that have been happening for you. And we had some audio issues, so we're basically filming it again. But as I said, I'm much happier this time around because I have you in person, and I actually gave you a half a day notice to kind of get ready. So that's actually a nice bonus. And you're doing things right now, sort of in health and wellness categories. I'd like you to just talk about that a little bit. You came from the medical industry as a sonographer, and we'll have you talk about that. And I came out of the medical industry selling the GE Volusion and other equipment that people like you actually used in real time. So with that being said, Melody, thank you for taking the time to come back and tell us a little bit about yourself and your history, and then we can get in and talk about the wand.
Okay, perfect. Well, first of all, I'm super excited I got my wand. It got here really expeditiously. So love that and that it brought us together in this way. That said, my background was healthcare for 30 years, high risk ultrasonographer, and loved what I do, but never realized how much I defined myself by my work and my work alone. In 2011, I was sidelined by a neuroendocrine tumor, 1 centimeter tumor, lost 2/3 of my right lung, and was not able to hold a probe or catch a patient or a variety of other things. So basically, my career ended at that point. So anyway, I had been making products, taking them in, giving them away to people. And one of my coworkers said, "Hey, if you'll put pretty labels on those, I bet you sell a lot." So then I segued into really more of the beauty, natural skincare. And then now I've sort of branched off into more what I would call health and wellness, trying to help people with pain, products that offer solutions and that are, again, I can customize things to people if they need something in particular. And it's caring for people. It's no different than working in really the same animal.
Mhm. Just with a different set of technologies and a different set of things that you can do to assist people.
Correct.
And and I know, like we've spoken, I know whatever it is you're doing now, you're starting to ramp that up, and there's more things that you're working on here in the future. And I know I've been able to talk to Wendy, not personally, but I know you are networked in with a group of people that all have those similar qualities where they really want to go out and help other people. And I know in this day and age, for people that are out there, there's service to self and service to others. And when you're running across people that are interested in service to others, it's a real blessing. So I'm very blessed to have met you. I'm very happy to have met you. Now, you got the 7.0 wand, that terahertz wand. I think it was maybe, I don't know when it was. Oh, there you go. Okay, awesome. Um, and there's been actually quite a few things that you've seen benefit from, and you had your business partner also that you used it with, and we can get into that story later. But I learned a lot from you on that last call. So when it comes to tips and things to do when using a wand, you've really helped me do a better job on the back end of really outlining things that people should do. Um, and technically, I could tell that story, but you're going to tell it better because you actually were the one that did some of these things. And why don't you go in and tell us kind of maybe some of the things that happened for you, but what you did and the process that you took before you actually even started using the wand, and how you started using the wand once you actually did turn it on and physically started getting it onto your body.
Okay, perfect. So first I want to say, so I don't forget, water and wand, because the two are going to help you to be better quicker. So I'm kind of a nerd. So I had actually called Sean and I said, "Hey, how long am I supposed to wand the water? I've read a little bit. What should I be doing?" So I had a little bit of information going in. Then quickly my wand arrived and I was like, "Great. Now what do I do with this? How is it most effective?" So I went back and read, you had sent me the terahertz link for how to use it. And I had also printed off some a little bit larger so that I could see them, but reflexology charts. And so
Mhm.
before that, I knew where the acupressure points were. I knew what my goal was and sort of what my path would be. But honestly, at first I was like, oh, I forgot the water. So it's best if your water is warm. I used about a 20-inch glass, and I found a place that was comfortable. And I wanted myself both lying down, sitting up, and standing up, just whatever seemed to work at the moment. And I warmed my water, and then I, for 1 minute, used the wand, and careful not to drop it in, obviously, because that would be a calamity. But at any
Yeah.
rate, drank the water, and then at that point went back, because of course I was excited. I wanted to go to exactly what I wanted it for, but I was like, okay, I'm going to start in a methodical way. So I started with the top of my body, and I did my anterior body, did my acupressure points moving from my crown. I actually did my third eye, and then the palms, and elbow, and the armpit, because obviously that all is going to aid our lymphatic drainage down into the pelvis. Then I said to do the backside, so I did the first of the upper body, then I switched, I did the posterior, and the same
Mhm.
sort except at that point now I'm really excited. I'm like, okay, I want to get on to where I'm going. So
Did you do your feet too?
yeah, so then I went to my feet, and I have a foot that I had broken like 3 days, not the foot, but actually the toe. So about 3 days ago. So again, the same thing. I started, obviously on the foot, and I needed to do the acupressure point, but it felt really good on that hematoma and where the toe was broken. So I, did some little swirls, and I could feel fluid moving underneath. And then I was like, okay, you gotta, stay with what you're doing. So I did the top of my foot, I did the toes. Then I went to the plantar surface, to the bottom of my foot, and I was moving the wand because it made sense to me. If I did the front, you have to do the back, right? Everything is
Mhm.
impacted. And so I moved along the back, and as I was moving along those toes from the little toe up to the big toe, all of a sudden I just had this huge release from my sinus. And I'd been sick for about 10 days prior to that, and just like my sinus cleared. And oh, and I forgot to mention, when I very first started, I had a sinus headache. And that was actually the first thing I did. And I actually had done the wand around the orbit of the eye, because I get headaches behind my left eye. And so after
Mhm.
I did the eye, before I started the treatment, I'm going to say I did that for about 90 seconds, about a minute and a half. And anybody who has migraines knows that they're unforgiving. When you get them, you can take a multitude of things, and if something works, you're lucky. It's kind of a crapshoot. And so in the 90 seconds, I could feel the pain moving from sort of the temple, the left of the eye, and I was, just pointing it with my eye closed, of course, and then it just disappeared, gone. So then I opened my eye and I was like, okay, am I imagining that? Is that real? Is that true? And then today I haven't had any migraines at all, and I have had them, with this upper respiratory sinus issue for about 10 to 12 days.
Mhm.
So that was the lead in. Then, I had the release from the sinus. Then I was like, okay, this is good. It's working. I'm going to go back and work on the foot. So, because that was, what I had done most acutely. So I worked on the foot for probably 10 to 12 minutes on the first pass. And then I was really excited. I wanted to see how the foot felt to walk on it. So I walked, and I walked across the carpet, and I still had kind of, a limp, and it was still tender to put pressure on. So I waited probably about 2 hours. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do a session again. And I didn't do the whole body. I just went to the foot. Just kind of, I actually sort of like I was body brushing. I did my whole body again, and then went to the foot and drank the water. Right. The second session, same thing. Tara Hertz wanted my water, drank it. I didn't do it on a full stomach. I did it when I was warm. I did it in a warm place, just trying to work with all of the dynamics that could help. So I
Mhm.
wanted the second time, and then a little bit of a limp, not perfect. So I'm like, okay, well, twice as good. I'm going to do it a third time. And on the third time, when I wanted the foot, I got up and walked away like nothing ever happened. I was no longer limping. The bruise was completely, the hematoma was resolved. I mean, you could look at it, and even today, it's just a little hint of red under the tissue. And on day one, I could not bend those toes back. And today I can bend the toes back. I can move the foot, the toes, all of it. So I count that as a huge success.
Huge success. And so that happened over the first 24, 48 hours of using it. The first couple days you got that effect.
Friday was the first day. So today was my second. And the second
Oh,
time that
wow.
that I've wanted. And again,
Okay.
I've mentioned too is I prayed about it. I used intention, I used manifestation, and I literally I talked to the wand and I said, you're going to help me, I want to heal, and I'm only going to send
Hmm.
positive light and energy into my body. I am receptive, I want to heal, I don't want to have any of these issues. And I just basically said, I know you're going to take it away. And so I believe that positive intention is very, very important. And to
Hmm.
that, my partner who lives with me, he has all sorts of issues and does not like to drink water and does not like to take care of himself. And so I had to really, really kind of chase him down and say, please just let me try it. I want to know what it does for you. So he was reluctant, told me no a couple of times, finally got him to sit into a recliner. And I started just like I had of myself. And he wouldn't get out of the recliner. So I only did the front of his body. And he has a knee injury that he's been struggling with. And when he was sitting in the chair in the beginning, you could tell he didn't want to be there. And he was angry and he had his arms crossed. Eventually, his arms kind of dropped down to his side. And of course, I had to do his palms and I had to do those acupressure points. So at that point, he's a little relaxed. So then I said, okay, you only get to pick one thing. What am I going to work on today? Because he had a shoulder, a back, and a knee. And he said, the knee. I really want you to work on the knee. So I'm wanding the knee and I'm doing the front and I'm doing the sides and I'm doing behind it. And I do a thing where I actually swirl the wand. I kind of am hanging onto the back, kind of, not just by the
Hmm.
cord, doing a spiral with it. I
Right.
did that, to his knee, and he was like, whoa, something moved in there. Like I felt it pop. He said, it really hurts on the left outside. He goes, I feel like the it's moving to the inside of my knee. So I said, great, I'll just do some on the inside. We'll do top to bottom. We'll kind of see if we can move it. And so at that point, he was like, he goes, this is kind of interesting, but on the fence. And I said, so what do you think? Do you feel anything different? And he said, well, I can't tell. You got to let me get up, walk around, see what I think. So then he walked around and I'm like, okay, so what do you think? And he said, give me a minute and I'll tell you. And then a friend of mine called me from Colorado and I was on the phone and he goes, you know what? It feels better. And she heard him say it. So I was like, aha, see, so, the doubting Herman is like, okay, maybe it does work. So I believe, although he didn't want the treatment, that my positive intentions, and I was praying and I was like, heal him, help this to flow. Let's block anything, disease, right? Things that are trapped in that tissue and move, make him better. So,
Hmm.
it's all things. I also want to say too, I do filter my water. I do not,
Hmm.
for the environmental work group, see what is in your tap water, your drinking water. You make the decision if you think it's healthy or not, even if you well water. And that is filtered water, that is pristine. Now, today, what I didn't mention as well is when I wanded the water, and I told Sean this earlier, the glass was actually hot, like too hot to put to my lips, which I was like, I did exactly what I did yesterday. Same amount of
Hmm.
time, water, everything. And I'd actually felt the water to be sure, it wasn't too hot to drink. But when you drink the water, and Sean says it's the viscosity, but for me, instead of gulping or trying to get that 20-ounce glass of water down, it just flowed. It was like
Hmm.
wanted it and it felt good and it was different.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. Now, because I get so many questions, people are going to say, now, how warm should the water be? What type of preparation did you do? Did you put it on the stove for like you were going to boil tea? And like at what point, like ballpark, would you say that it kind of got to that warm um, temperature that you were using it at?
What I did, and I'm embarrassed to tell you this, but I warmed it in the microwave and I
Okay.
did 45 seconds both days.
Okay. And how
Same
long did you have it in there?
45 seconds.
Oh, 45 seconds. Okay. Okay. And then you use the wand on the water for about a minute per glass.
Right.
Okay, that's perfect. Just things to give people like some information. Now, tell me if I'm wrong, but when you were using the wand, first off, you got rid of the headache. That was great. It helped the toe. But when we were talking yesterday, that sinus infection you had for 10 days, you were using it on your foot when all the sinus stuff started coming out, right? When your sinuses started to clear, you were actually using the wand on your foot at the time that happened. Is that right?
That is correct. And the only other time I've had something similar is when I was 30 years old. So 31 years ago, I went to a DO and he had done a release. He'd done an actual acupressure and a massage of my sinuses and everything released. So this with
Hmm.
the was totally unexpected. And I was like, whoa, I wonder why this is happening. So then when I went to the reflexology, it said that the sinus is in the tip of every toe. So exactly where I ran that wand was related to my sinus. Oh, and also I have had that thoracotomy and I have lung pain. And yesterday, before I talked to Sean in the afternoon, I'm like, oh boy, I have to go rest. I need to ice my back. It hurts so much. So I typically would go to ice. I'm trying not to use ice because it slows energy. It kind of mucks it up. It doesn't let it flow. But I decided I'm going to do my foot again because I'd worked all day. And after I did my foot, which the lung lives in the middle of the foot, kind of by the ball of the foot and towards the heel,
Hmm.
hit the foot and the lung pain went away. So that's the second thing from, using the foot. And you can, I mean, at this point, I'm like, I'm going to memorize the feet and what is where and, what
Right.
organ, what I'm trying to do because it matters. And I even told my girlfriend, I said, when you get the wand, why don't you make a little X? She's got somebody to buddy with. And I said, make an X where you're actually, putting the power source, where you're wanding so that you're consistent. If it works, great, stick with it. If it doesn't, adjust it.
Right. And so, that brings up, we talked about this yesterday, but since we're kind of doing this over a second time, all that acupuncture and all those meridians, those are all energy centers. And every part of the bottom of your foot and the hands and even the ears, right, all
Yes.
correspond to different parts of your body. So what you're really doing is you're sending energy, and you're, even though you're using it on the bottom of your foot, you're literally sending that energy to all these different meridians, all these different energy centers all over your body, all your internal organs. And in this case here, you were actually able to get it up into the head and the sinuses. And the reason I think this call is so important is that I think that a lot of people skip some of these steps. And truthfully, I don't always do the feet every time I use the wand, but this morning I spent extra time on my feet, my hands, and my ears because I realized how important that was. And I get a lot of people that ask me, do I have to drink the water? Well, I said this yesterday, I'm going to say it again today. They're referring you to do that for a very good reason. These people, there's a couple manufacturers that make them that I've worked with, and both of them highly advocate that, and there's reasons for it. Now, briefly, and I'll kind of just hit this quickly. When you use the wand on the water molecules have a tendency to cluster. They cluster, as it says, 18 to 20 molecules in general, and it's hard for that water at that point to be absorbed directly into the cell because it's clustering. It can be absorbed through the intestines and that. But when you wand the water, one of the things that happens is that it breaks down that clustering so the water molecules line up in a linear fashion, and now they can actually be absorbed directly into the cell. And so when the cell is able to absorb that energy or that charged water molecule, it helps, number one, with detoxification. It helps with cellular function, but it enhances the results that you get from the wand. And the technologies, which are scalar, quartz crystal, terahertz, and far infrared, that works directly with that water molecule. So getting those water molecules, those charged molecules in the body is definitely going to assist with getting a better outcome. And, I've sold these to so many different people and I've got so many great stories. And I'm going to share the story one more time with an Indian chief who's become sort of a friend of mine, who's using it on a reservation. He had given out a 7.0 terahertz wand to one of his friends or family. They had a tumor that was the size of an avocado. They had been trying to get that thing to go down. They really had not seen much results with it. The minute they started using and drinking the water before using it, they took it, he said in his words, exact words, it went from the size of an avocado to the size of a grape. So all of a sudden, once that charged water started getting into the body, it immediately started having a much greater effect on the results and what was actually happening. And I love the fact that you're bringing this up. And so you got rid of the headache. the toes, the fractured toe went from not being able to put weight on it to where's it at now? You can walk around, you're okay?
Yeah, it's fine walking. I did try to wear cowboy boots today, and that was not particularly comfortable. So I did not do that. But I literally had an appointment I had to go to, and I walked in, and she wouldn't have known I'd done anything to my foot. I actually showed it to her and said, "Hey, I got this new wand. You have pain. Can we make an appointment? I want to try this on you. I want to see what
Right.
it could is chronic pain."
Right. So, headache, toe, you cleared up a sinus infection that you'd been kind of clinging on to for what, about 10 days.
Correct.
Okay. And then we got to touch on the spider veins.
Oh yeah, and I have some little spider veins on my chin that are basically go along with having the neuroendocrine tumor. And I have three of them. And as I was using the wand, and again, I adjusted it now really low towards my face because I'm kind of heat
Mhm.
sensitive. And you could actually see the blood released. You could see the blood going out of those little, like spider veins, the little arms of
Mhm.
them. And I have to use my magnifying mirror because I have to be sure if what I'm seeing is really true. And you could actually see it. And it actually felt different too, because I have to say the left side, which I had the majority, my chin sort of bumped out. And I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with that. And it's actually much, much smaller.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. And this was over the course of what, 24, 48 hours?
That was the first 24. Mhm.
First 24. Okay. And I mean, that's absolutely phenomenal. That 7.0 wand, as I said, that's a culmination of 10 years of research. So, as they keep making these and the technology's out there longer, I think it becomes more effective just because it gets smaller, kind of like cell phones do. And then your partner's knee, I guess he got some relief from using that. Did he drink the water or did he just do it without the water?
Complied with the water, and he's actually going to try it again today. Because in the morning I told him he needed to be, showered, empty stomach, and he's like, I'm just not going to comply with all that stuff. That's too much. So we'll take it up tonight. I'll let you know on that. But also, because I was so excited between the sinus and the headache and the rest of it, I decided today I'm going to wand my eyes because I'm
Mm.
61 and my near vision is not what it used to be. And I'm going to see. I'm just going to track it. I'm going to do it for the same amount of time every day because I read that the eye can actually completely heal itself in 7 days in the proper environment. So I have an eye care vitamin that I'm taking that's like a really, juiced up, got all sorts of wonderful things in it that are antioxidants. So I'll keep you posted.
It's
Oh, and the
awesome.
ear.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, and I
So
think the
go.
ear too, because we talked about it. And I
Mm.
actually do have a bigger chart because I know that there's other things besides just the kidneys and the ear. But I sort
Mhm.
of your ear opening. I just, for whatever reason, that's where I ended up going. And I did my little spirals again. And it was rather profound because although I try to be a good listener, I miss a lot of things, or sometimes it's even maybe I'm like offended or shocked. And I'm like, they didn't just say that, but they did. So after I did my ears, I would say not that my hearing improved, but rather that I could hear clearly. So
Mhm.
it seemed like I don't know if I've slowed down. I don't know if I felt so good because when I did my entire body this morning with the wand, I told you, Sean, I felt like I was 25. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
God, I feel good. I mean, I had, a zip in my step and, you would never know anything was wrong.
Mhm.
Well, and I guess other tips, my girlfriend who's getting the device asked me, how close can I get it to the skin? I'm like, if your skin is too hot, you're too close. So I said, I
Mhm.
just played with it, watched, where the light was, just tried to be fair to either side of my body. And, I don't know that you could burn yourself with this. I don't think so because I had it clear on my skin this morning, but just, be mindful of that. If it's uncomfortable, don't do
Mhm.
it.
Right.
You know,
And I like the fact when you're talking about using it with the chin area that you went to now it's going to always throw off heat. It's just a question of how fast it's moving with the
Mhm.
blower. But you just find something that works good for you. And the other thing is, you could the distance can be adjusted based on your comfort level. But you also brought up a good point also with the types of motions, the circular motions and that you're doing, you're keeping it moving. So one of the things, and instead of letting the heat just build up on one spot, that whole thing with keeping the wand moving and circulating doesn't let it sit in just one area to kind of get that hot. So those are also great tips. Now, we talked after the call, and I told you that this was a very helpful call for me because, well, first off, this has been reported from more than one manufacturer, both the manufacturers that I work with, that both have made a great product. That 1 hour of using a terahertz wand is equal to 10 hours of acupuncture. And so this isn't the first time I've seen this happen where I'm using it on the feet specifically and seen other things happen. I think I shared a story with a friend. I was out in Las Vegas, and she was having problems with the right arm. And when I started using it on her foot, all of a sudden she could feel the energy going through her right arm, and I hadn't even gotten close to the arm yet. So there's a lot to be said for that. And I fold my legs up, like I'll put my leg over the top of my knee sideways. So there's a lot of ways you can get to the bottom of your feet.
Mhm.
But the thing I want to stress is that if you really are looking for the best possible results, and it might not be every time, maybe you only got 5 minutes and you're just going to use it quick for whatever. You know, try to use the way that we're talking about. Try to get 3, 4, 5 minutes on the bottom of each foot, on the hands, the ears. And this thing with the water is very important. Now, I know there's a lot of benefits that go with the heat. I know that they don't want you to be drinking cold stuff or be around cold. And I know, and Melody, you might be able to, just back me up on this just with your medical experience, but that heat has a tendency to dilate the blood vessels, increase blood flow circulation. So getting that warm water into the body is opening it up, increasing the blood flow. Obviously, there's benefits with the hydration and getting the molecules directly into the cells, which I talked about earlier. But I still get people that say, "Do I have to do this? Do I have to drink the water? Do I have to do this? How warm should the water be?" Well, I mean, I said this yesterday. Yes, you do have to drink water because you'll die in 3 days or maybe 4 if you're lucky if you don't drink water. So if you're going to drink water, why not drink a glass before? Now, they do recommend that you drink a glass afterwards as well. And I think a lot of that just has to do with flushing out materials, right? Toxic stuff that's coming out because you are releasing toxic stuff when you do go through these processes. And the goal obviously is to just let the body get that stuff out and bring nutrients and that back into the body. Melody, you're out in Tulsa, and I didn't get a chance to do this yesterday, but do you have a web address? Do you have a business or anything that I can
So
go?
the web address is kissed, KISSED, by nature, NATURE, at no, that one, it's kissedbynature.com. I'm sorry, that's the web.
And
Email,
that's also your email address.
no, email is at Gmail. It's
At
kissedbynature.
Gmail, right? So one is the .com, which is your website. And what are the services that you're providing out there? You're in the Tulsa area, is that right? Broken Arrow?
Yeah, actually right now I'm just because I'm new to the area, and in Colorado was my base, and I was there, I don't know, started in 2008 and then left in 2021. So it was an adjustment. I'm in a different area. People are maybe not exposed to some of the things that we have. So I also, I have a CBD line. I have some different, healing things that I do. So mostly I've just been trying to expose people, and say, here, and what I always do is I absolutely do everything in the booth. I let them try it. I'm like, you be the judge. If it doesn't work for everybody, if it works for you, great. I would think the wand is the same. Maybe there's 5% people it just won't work on. Maybe they're acupuncture pressure resistant, so their body
Right.
just respond like that. I know I respond really well to acupuncture, acupressure. So I think that. So anyway, what I hope to do honestly is, I have a lot of tools, and my goal is to help people heal. There's a lot of sickness, a lot of sadness, a lot of emptiness in the world. And if people can be more healthy, one person at a time, we will have a better world. It'll be healthier. It's one person. I'm not trying to do 5 or 10 or 20, but
Yeah.
to that point, at my appointment this afternoon, I said to my friend April, I said, hey, I want to try this on your back and your leg. let's give it a go. And she kind of rolled her eyes and she's like, what are you doing now? And I said, well, this is some cutting edge technology, but it's been around. And I said, I'm just gonna, and I showed her my foot. I showed her my foot with the fractured toe, and she goes, well, you didn't even do anything to your toe. And I said, no, you just can't see the damage. It looks really good. But so what I'm going to do is still taking shape. I want to work in the wellness. I want to phase out lotions and face care. That's actually where I began. All of those items are great, but my heart is just leading to wellness and use of essentials and aromatherapy, and even body brushing. I think body brushing would be really important to do along with the wand, because whether in the beginning and you did it first, to do your whole body takes maybe 5-6 minutes, then already your neural pathways are opened up. So then if you drink and then you wand, I would think you're working against less resistance.
Right. And because of our call, I'm going to go back to our instructions that I give out to people. I put everything on a link on our website because there's a lot of videos. There's the videos on the water. There's just a lot of stuff that I can get through a video format, and a lot of extra photos that I wouldn't be able to give if I just did it all printed or did printed stuff. So because of our call, I'm going to actually go and find more acupuncture charts to get more of that acupuncture information in there. And then, once again, highly recommend that they do the feet, the palms, the ears, and drink that warm water, actually the warm water first. And really just say, look, I mean, and like I said, I understand it might not be every time. I know it's sometimes maybe it's not possible with your time schedule. However, for people who are out there that are dealing with a lot of issues that are serious, more serious, it's worth taking the time to do that. So that's been super helpful for me, and I learn a lot, every time I hear it. Now, the other thing I do have to say also is that the results may vary, right? The results you're getting are phenomenal, and I'm super excited. It makes me feel like I'm doing something worthwhile with my life. But you do get those people where it might take weeks or even months before they really start seeing results, because every body is different, every situation is different, and the body's ability to react and kind of go into regeneration is always going to be different based on the situation and what you're dealing with. So if you've used it for a week or 2 weeks, the whole thing I always tell people is it's a marathon and not a race. Now, you've got some great stuff going on. However, I do want to kind of see and follow you as you start using it on your chest, your lungs, because of all the stuff you've gone through in your upper respiratory system. I do think there is possibilities that you could see improvement in other parts that might take a little longer to really gauge the results from that. But as you use it for all these different things, very much like me now, because I've been using these for about a year. I actually just cracked a rib, so I'm going to start using it more on my rib, which that'll be a week or 2 weeks, and that'll be gone. But just in life, we run across these different situations where things come up. So I just want to say that, because slow and steady wins the race. And even if you're not seeing, immediate results, you're still getting benefit from all of this, the level of hydration and maintaining good health, which is just as important as addressing your health when something goes sideways, is very important. So for me, I'm always trying to stay out ahead of stuff. And, like with anybody, I'm 57, you're 61, right? I lived in California for almost 30 years, and I can tell you that my face and skin, I've taken a lot of wrinkles, and I've definitely got a much better skin quality. Not that it was ever bad, but it's better than it was before I started using the wand. So that I can say for sure. So with that being said, we'll have links down below, and I'll put some of this stuff on there if you want to look up the acupuncture. Melody, is there anything else that you want to share on this call today while we're kind of finishing up?
Yeah, I have 3 ways. One is be consistent. You can't be late to achieve optimal health. That's just the truth. And so if you're not willing to follow the instructions and do it, you can still get the wand, but really give it 100%. My taught her son, she told me this today, that with great privilege comes great responsibility. So not afford a wand. Not everybody has a wand, but we have the responsibility to really do our due diligence to see what it can do for us. If it doesn't work for you, that's okay. But I don't think the reason it wouldn't work on everyone if used, with the right set of circumstances. So, it's the water, it's the readiness, it's your mindset. And, I don't know about you. I don't know anybody who wants to be sick. So
Right.
excited, and I did not even have 24 hours between my treatments. So I think, like with anything else, if you stay consistent, don't let it run to 36 hours. I mean, if you can't, you can't. I'm going to be going, to a hotel on Sunday. I'm going to take the wand with me. I'm like, what a, perfect opportunity to wand away. So,
Right.
and keep a journal. I have notes, and I decided at the very beginning of this, I'm kind of a nerd, came from that healthcare science background. And honestly, I forget as much as I remember at this point. So if I write it down, it's clear, it's concise, I know what happened or didn't. So then if I go back and say, oh, well, you know what, I did it that day and it didn't work so well. Well, if I only did 5 minutes and I normally do 30, I didn't give it the time. And also one other thing I did not realize, so I have the 7, and then my friend got the big blue, the
Mhm.
large. I think hers penetrates deeper and works faster. Um, I read a review, and I don't think it was your review, but the other thing is, I guess, because then I was like, well, I don't have buyer's remorse, but would I have gotten that one? I still wonder, because I can't carry a lot of weight. So this is
Right,
perfect.
yeah, and the one thing I want to say about all the wands, they're all good, they all work. The real difference is how much time you're going to spend using it, right? So with the 7.0, well, there's a 6.0 that's 750 watts, and then there's that one, and I think they do make 500-watt wands, which I don't really, you can get them out there, but I don't really, they also work, but it's just I'd rather just go with ones that I know are going to work for the time that most people are going to be able to spend. You're going to get the same end result, but with the more powerful, larger wand, you just don't have to use it for as much time. So if you said, look, I only got 20 minutes, you can get a lot done with that 7.0. That there's a reason why that is the top selling wand that we've got for terahertz wands, mainly because it's about 20 or 25% bigger than the smaller models, which are the 6.0s, and the price difference isn't all that much. And you when you get to Big Blue and you get to some of these other pro grade ones, well, you're not going to use them for as long a period of time, but you're still getting the same technology from either one of them. And I did it. Well, I did it even before you. They didn't even have the 7.0 when I started doing this. But even with the smaller wands, I still got great, results from those. Granted, it takes a little bit longer using it because you need more time, but the technology, what they're doing is exactly the same. So, if you're out there and you've got a limited budget, I don't, I do understand, but more than 20-25% of our sales are actually coming from people like yourself, where you've gotten it, you're seeing great results, you're referring friends and family, and then they're calling up and saying, hey, I want one. And many times, they might start off with the smaller one, say a 6.0, and say, well, you can have that one. I'm going to go get the next one. And they, work out a deal with a friend or a family member and do it that way. Uh, but Melody, the one last thing I did want to touch on that we spoke about yesterday that I didn't really get too much in depth with, but I think it's very important we talk about this, is intention. And the one thing that you also touched on, which I think is extremely important, is a positive mindset that the body is going to get better. The body is going to respond. The body is going to heal. That's all through your mindset. And keeping positive intention transposes itself into many different things. Now, I spoke about a gentleman, Dan Winter, who is just a phenomenal person. It's very smart individual, physicist and former IBM person. But when you are basically creating positive energy and positive thoughts, you're actually creating you're creating a plasma energy field. And he always says, when you can put your intention into your pinky and make it tingle, that's when you know you're getting started and you know what you're doing. And in our world right now, we hear a lot. We're put into boxes. We hear a lot of "you can't," "you'll never," "this will never happen," "this will never," and many times it's not necessarily being done in a way where it's malicious. There's just people out there that are very closed-minded, and they just don't know about some of these technologies and what the ability of the mind is. But the mind is so incredibly powerful. And there's a movie, and I plugged it yesterday. I'm going to plug it again today, by a gentleman named Dr. Joe Dispenza, which is called Heal. And Melody, I don't know if you saw the video that I did with this gentleman named Kirk Heal, Heal, on YouTube. Dr. Joe Dispenza, phenomenal, broke his back. Oh, you'll never walk, you'll never do this, da 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 da, right? And he just said, no, I'm going to do everything that I want. And he basically used his mind. And now he basically, before he even starts any sort of treatment with any person, the first thing that gets started is program the mind that it's going to happen. And anything and everything's possible. And if you have faith in God, you absolutely know that's true. But when you also understand that God gave you a lot of internal things within your body that are there for you to assist with these things, and you get everything involved and you program yourself for success, that in itself goes right along with everything that you started with. And that was one of the things that you touched on, as far as your mindset and how you were programming your body, that you were going to get positive results from this. And I talked also about Masaru Emoto. I've spoke about Mr. Emoto many times. He was a scientist in Japan, primarily in the 80s and some of the 90s. He basically took what your thought process, when your mind and your thoughts can change the molecular structure of water. When you're focusing on love and happiness, you can take the molecular structure of water and turn it into the most beautiful snowflake. And each different positive emotion will change that snowflake into a different shape. And you can do the exact opposite with a negative attitude. You can take that beautiful snowflake and turn it into a blob. And we talked about this yesterday, that we're primarily based out of water. So that's a very important thing that people need to know, that, you need everything in. I always want to say you want everything in the fight, but we're really not fighting. We're actually benefiting ourselves. So that's really not a good analogy. But you want to integrate as many different things into your health and wellness as possible. And it starts with your mind. I've had calls. I actually had a call with the guy the other day, and he's like, "I'll never." I said, "Look, man, before we even talk about technology, we got to fix that first. Then I'll talk to you about anything you're calling me for." But these are very important things. And that's, when you started talking, that was one of the first things that you brought up before we even got to anything else. So is there anything I'm just going to bounce that back to you to get any feedback from you on that, and then we can wrap it up.
And this isn't about that specifically. I mean, I concur, I agree about all of it. Your mind controls who you are and how you are, and where you can go. And if yourself, your person is the most valuable thing that you have in the world. And if you won't take the time for I mean, to me, I don't understand it. You got to do, self-love, self-care, super important. I did want to say back to the ears, because today was the first day I did it, and I'm very tactile and I don't like noises and things. So I was thinking earplugs could be really good in the ears if you're going to do ear work. So I was like, I think I'll get a pair of those, because I don't particularly love that sound in my ear, but it gives you a second not to just skip over it, not do it, but to basically do the ears to augment the rest of the, wanding.
Well, that was interesting, because that was something that came up this morning when I called you back, that you hadn't experienced yesterday. But you said when you used it on the ears that you did, I guess, pick up that your hearing was more enhanced, or there was something that you could just feel was a little bit different just from using it, for the first time.
Well, and we can have blocks anywhere, right? So it may
Mhm.
not be a terrible listener, but rather something is blocked and it's just not flowing.
Mhm.
And it's an understanding. It was more, instead of, I can hear perfect. I have bat hearing, but I don't have bat understanding. So after that, it's like,
Yeah.
auditory. I understood things in a different way. And maybe it just removed something I have, something
Right,
negative that.
and just sending the energy there and just moving that energy through those parts of the body.
Correct.
So I'm going to get more of those acupuncture charts. I'm going to definitely get a better updated one for the ears, for the feet, and the hands, because I want people to have all those different parts of the body that they're trying to reach, if they're looking for different internal parts or whatever they are, and to know that and really focus on that. And what a great call, Melody. Thank you so much for taking the time again to come back on. Before I wrap it up one more time, though, is there anything you'd like to share with everybody before we go?
I don't think so. I mean, it's been a positive experience. There's no negative. There's not been a downside for me other than I'd like to do it more than what I am.
Mhm.
Obviously, constraints. So I guess the other thing I would say, based upon your schedule, if I have something new that I'm bringing into my routine, I'll set an alarm on my phone and say, oh, okay, I have this free spot. This is when I'm going to do it. Make it a part of your schedule, build it in and commit to it. If you commit to
Mhm.
things, stay with it, you're going to see good results.
Yeah. Well,
And
once again, go ahead.
but if not, then again, they talk to you and fine tune it. Because again,
Mhm.
maybe perhaps forgot the water, or someone, had a full stomach and drank, a bunch of cold cocktail or something.
Mhm.
you you've got to set yourself up for success. And there's a lot of little steps in that. So it's easy to forget the water, warming the water, wanding the water, and then wanding self. I myself, I have an ice pack nearly all the time that I use, on my lung region. And I mean, I've been using that for 10 years. I made myself put it away because I don't want the cold blocking any energy that's trying to flow into new areas. So I had to really self-talk. I had to say, okay, it's okay. You don't need it. We're going to do
Mhm.
something different. I can't sleep without it, and last night I slept without it. So that's
Mhm.
huge, whether it's, self or whether it's actually something moved. So be
Yeah,
patient, be dedicated, be focused.
that's awesome. And if you're in the Tulsa area and you have the ability to get a hold of Melody, it's kissedbynature.com. Give her a call, look her up, and spend some time with her, and she'll take very good care of you. So, Melody, thanks again. Take care. I'm going to go ahead and shut this down, but I'll stay with you here for just a minute and say goodbye. Thanks again for your time today, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.